Solstice Campout 2026. Hoping it doesn't rain. But if it does, I guess I'll get wet. What is up, everybody? So I was off to Dirty River Bicycle Works to meet up with our friends at 4 o'clock on the afternoon on Saturday the 20th. This would be the solstice campout we do every year, but instead of heading east like we had for our first number of years, this year we were heading west again like we did last year. We were going to Seville, Ohio to camp at Maple Lakes Campground. For the solstice, we've always done this later start because 4 o'clock is when the bike shop closes and we're waiting for Ben, the mechanic, to get off work. This year there was a group of 5 of us, though only 4 of us would be camping, as Ames was just riding along out to Wadsworth and then she would be turning around and heading home. The route was through downtown Akron, then off onto the towpath all the way down to Barberton, where we'd be breaking off and going through the Barberton neighborhoods and then heading out in the country towards Wadsworth. Wadsworth was going to be the dinner destination, and then we'd be heading farther out into the country to the campsite near Seville. As you can see, we did get a little bit of drizzle. It felt like we were riding under one cloud that was moving right along with us for a while, because you could see it's not rainy or cloudy, well, not real cloudy, rain cloud like all around, but it was never enough to actually soak us through or anything like that. It was early enough in the ride that we were completely dry by the time we even broke off the trail. Even though we were heading to the same destination as last year, Ben being the awesome route master he is, planned it to be a little bit different, so I ended up with about 66 miles for the round trip on the weekend, but I think 16 or 17 of those miles were new, and a lot of the roads as we got farther out were ones that I've only been on probably once or twice anyways. I think the humble overnighter is underrated. There's something about having a destination and a purpose when you're on the bike that just makes it really enjoyable for me. Even though you are pushing the heavier bike and it's a little more tiring, it just, I don't know, I guess it just gives it that sense of purpose, sense of destination, like you're on a journey. So, I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Do you do overnighters, or do you only ever plan for bigger multi-day trips if you're going to take the time to load up your bike? The one thing that I've said a number of times about overnighters, though, is you really don't get a cut back that much on how much you pack, because the stuff that takes up the most space is going to be your sleep system, your tent, and all that. And so you just have a little bit less clothes, and for us, we only needed snacks on this trip because we knew we were going out to eat. We had a destination for dinner and another one for breakfast. Yeah, now it's been forced. Yeah. This area here is called the Norton Mine. It was the deepest limestone mine in the world. In a recent video, I showed a bunch of the off-road trails you could ride around here. Here we're kind of just passing through. I don't think it's technically legal to be back here, but there's people ripping around on motorbikes and all kinds of stuff. So a couple cyclists passing through, I don't think is an issue. We've never encountered any kind of authority as we've been out in this area. It's also where Lake Dorothy is and stuff like that. Besides my GoPro and the phone that we always carry, I did not bring a digital camera on this trip. I decided to bring my Nikon L35AF. I showed it in the beginning there. It was a really high quality point and shoot from the early 80s. I actually had 2 of them, but they both broke. I finally just bit the bullet and paid to get it fixed because I missed having that camera so much. It's just a really, really great, simple camera to use. It's been interesting since I've been talking about film cameras again, the last few months, people commenting like, no way. If you're new around here, I started this channel with the goal of making videos about cameras every week, not about bikes, but everyone just kept commenting on the bike stuff. And so ironically, what happened was making YouTube videos about riding bikes became my hobby, and I kind of fell off on film photography. So I opened a little storefront in my studio here that sells film, develops film, and it just absolutely reignited my passion for it. So I am carrying my film cameras and analog cameras on the bike again for the first time in a few years. I guess one of the other, interesting things about doing that, though, is I'm so used to, well, we all have the instant gratification of digital photography and then being able to put those photos into these videos. Well, one of the cool things about film is not having that instant gratification, and so I don't have those photos to put in this video yet because I'm developing them later today. We had dinner at Great Oaks Tavern, a place we had never been to before. Dinner was really good. They had a good beer list, a good cocktail list. We usually go to Wadsworth Brewing, but we just decided we wanted to try something different on this trip. We then rode across the street to the grocery store to get any last-minute supplies we would need, grab some beer and stuff like that, the stuff you didn't want to have to haul for the first, 27 miles, because I think this day was, about 33, so we had about 6 miles after dinner to get to our campsite. As you can see, it became an absolutely beautiful evening. It wasn't overly hot either. It was pretty much perfect. I remember this being a really pretty ride from last year, but this was even better because last year we were having a blistering heat wave, and I think it was in the 90s. A number of people didn't even finish the ride because they overheated. So yeah, this was super pleasant, super pretty way to wind down the longest day of the year. The route wasn't crazy climby, but it definitely wasn't flat. A little over 1,400 feet on the way out and a little under 1,000 on the way back.
How are you?
Maple Lakes is kind of a traditional RV family campground. There's a pool there. There's a couple fishing lakes. There's activities. I think it was bingo night. They've even added a bar in the camp store, which was pretty wild. I did not expect to see that. We had selected one of the tent sites, which would be back in the woods. They moved us to one of the traditional sites, saying the ground is just really uneven back there and it'd be hard for us to get that many tents set up on flat ground. I don't know. I probably would have still preferred to be back in the woods instead of the more parking lot style of campground area, but it was still fine. And as the sun's going down and you have your fire going, the darkness makes you feel isolated, and we didn't have any problem with anyone being too loud or running generators or anything like that. Around the fire, we were kind of chatting about how interesting campground culture is. It's just something so different. I guess we're always just passing through, or I started camping a lot more in my 20s when I'd be traveling, so it was more like heading to national parks or state parks, and it was kind of that place to stay and sit around a fire on my way somewhere else. It's so different and unique, the post-up experience that you get at some campgrounds. And my family didn't grow up camping, so it's just something that I didn't grow up with at all, and yeah, I don't know. I just always find it interesting seeing everyone's setups. Some people who basically have their whole entire house here. So one with washing machine and dryers and the TVs and everything. So yeah, just totally different than something that I ever had experienced when I was younger, or even the way that I use campgrounds still to this day. You can see that gravel road I was heading down. That's where our original campsite would have been. This is where they moved us to one of the more traditional ones. I did ride over to the lake to take some sunset photos. It was really, really pretty out. But the new campsite turned out to be fine. Like I said, it gets dark. You're sitting around the fire, having some drinks and making jokes with your friends all night. And yeah, basically a place then to pitch your tent and crash. Sunday was another absolutely beautiful day to ride bikes. Perfect temperature, perfect weather, not super sunny, but not totally dark and gray either. A little just filming technical side note, I ripped my windscreen that I usually put over my GoPro, and so that's why there's a little less ambient noise in this video, because basically it's just a bunch of horrible wind sound right now. I got some new ones on the way. Since I still kind of have the gunner in mountain bike mode as of right now, I just went with the almost rackless setup. I have the jack the rack on the front, which supports my Zeitgeist a little bit, but the one Zeitgeist on the rear is just strapped to the seat tube. And then my frame bag, that gets me about max capacity for an overnighter, so I don't have a ton of extra room. Even when we stopped to get beer and extra supplies, I had to use my musette to get those to the campsite. So for our longer trips this year, I am going to put racks back on the bike, probably put my fenders back on and go that route so I have more room for some camp meals and some extra clothes.
What's that? Oh, yeah, their sign's not on.
On our camp out a few weeks ago, we tried to go to this restaurant for breakfast, but they weren't open, even though their website said they were. This time we walked in and they were doing a Father's Day buffet, but it was more of just like lunch food, and I don't know, it just was not looking appealing to us. So we ended up actually leaving and going to the same coffee shop that we went to on the previous trip, sat on the upstairs patio. The funny thing is we all started eating our breakfast sandwiches and then realizing there was no eggs on it. Kat went downstairs and talked to the woman who had someone new in the kitchen, and she said, "Hey, did you put eggs on these breakfast sandwiches?" And I guess the woman was like, "No." Like somehow eggs on breakfast sandwiches would be crazy. Anyways, this coffee shop's still great to get breakfast at. It was just funny that that little mistake, and they made everything right. From there was the 10 or so miles down the towpath between Barberton and Akron. I don't know. I don't really ever tire of this section of the trail. I just really enjoy it. It's so pretty. You watch it change throughout all the seasons. And then so much of a bike ride anyways depends on who you're with and the conversations you're having and just all those other factors. A few people have been asking about what our summer tour is going to be this year, but with some external factors, we've had to move the dates of our trip and we changed the whole plan around. So I will actually talk about that farther down the road. Before we even do that, I have a trip planned to New York for Terry B's New York Tourist event, going to Michigan for Meet Me in Manchester. So the longer, more extended summer tour is going to be later on into August. For the New York trip, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do any meeting up with anyone outside of the actual event, which I've already DM'd some people who are going to be there, so I'm excited to see a number of people. But I am staying with some old friends, and I do want to spend some time with them, so I'm not sure if there'll be something going on around there. But if there is, that'll be posted in the Discord, which is linked below as always. So another great overnighter. I enjoyed last night before I went to bed looking at Instagram and seeing the solstice campouts that everybody else was doing. Let me know if you headed out for the night and did you do one of the official like Swift campouts, or do you do what we do and just plan something fun with a group of friends who are available? If you want to support this channel some more, consider becoming a channel member or check out our little merch store down below. Either way, though, thanks as always for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Hello, Edmund.